The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of Paltalk.com, AVM software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of Paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users on demand on iTunes and on YouTube and on my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you're more than welcome to post your comments, whether you agree or disagree with yours truly, the author. And thanks to our friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio. We are syndicated coast to coast across the United States of America into 12 million additional households. I'm your host, Gary Baumgarten. We almost didn't get our guest today. We got a voicemail when we called the first time, but I understand that somebody on my team decided to pray, and Robert McElvaine suddenly reappeared. So maybe the power of prayer actually worked. Anyway, I'm going to get to talking to our guest in just a second, but I just want to relate a little incident that occurred. Boaz, do you remember yesterday when I was driving out to a small town, Pennsylvania, to talk about Obama sticking his foot in his mouth and making those comments?
Yeah, sure. I was on the phone with you, I remember.
Yeah, I don't know if I told you this, but I'm driving out there and I get into Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania, and those little GPS units that you can get, they're pretty good on the long haul, but sometimes when you get into these they're sometimes not totally accurate when you get into certain areas. And I was just about a half a mile from Lois Herr's house, and the GPS said, sorry, I'm confused, I don't know where to go, right? Well, the road to my right, there was a road crew working, there was a road closed sign, and there was a police car sitting there to make sure that nobody went in there and ran over the road crew. So I decided to park my car, walk up to the police officer, and ask directions. I'm walking towards the car, and I could see in the car that there's a police officer behind the wheel. He's in uniform. I could see his badge and everything. So I walk around to the driver's side, waiting for him to roll down the window. He doesn't roll down the window. So I stoop down, and I peer in to say, hey, buddy, are you going to help me with my directions or not? It was a mannequin in a police uniform. I don't know who was the bigger dummy, the cop behind the wheel or me. And I turn around and I look, and the entire road crew stopped working, and they're pointing at me and laughing. It was pretty funny.
You know what's worse about that? There's something to be said about that, Gary. You know why they put a police mannequin there, a man, as a male mannequin? Because if it was a female police mannequin, somebody would have stole it.
Boaz, don't project your own values on other people.
I thought they just wanted to drive in the diamond lane.
What's that, Alan?
I thought he just wanted to drive in the diamond lane.
Well, people have done that. The diamond lane, for HOV, for high occupancy vehicles, people have actually put mannequins in their cars so that when the police see you driving by, it looks like there's more than one person or two people in the car, depending on what the rule is, so that they can go past the traffic during rush hour. Anyway, I'm upset because that dummy wouldn't give me directions. I found my way eventually anyway. It's not uncommon to hear people, including the President of the United States, say that Islam has been hijacked by terrorists who use that religion as an excuse to commit their heinous crimes on humanity. But now a book claims that Christianity has been likewise misrepresented by people advancing their political agendas. Robert McElvaine wrote the book Grand Theft Jesus, The Hijacking of Religion in America. It exposes the televangelists and leaders of megachurches as the people that Jesus warned us about, the wolves in sheep's clothing of our day. He calls their version of religion Christianity light because he argues that it resembles schemes that promote lose weight without diet or exercise. Robert McElvaine, welcome to News Talk Online on Paltalk.com.
Thank you. Glad to be with you. I've never been called the answer to anyone's prayers before, but
yes,
you were praying that I called
you would show up. We were praying that you would show up. Otherwise, I would have had to keep talking to Boaz in order to entertain the folks, which they may have enjoyed, but it gets boring after a while. Anyway, let's start by setting the record straight, because probably people who don't understand what we're about to talk about might start being detractors of yours without knowing. You are a Christian.
Yes. Although, let me use that opportunity to mention one story. A friend of mine who's actually a Methodist minister a number of years ago, as the so-called Christian right began to get stronger and stronger, got to the point where he said he really didn't want to be called a Christian. He said, you could call me all sorts of vulgar names, but not a Christian if that means people are going to think I'm one of them. So I would add that little caveat. But yes, I would consider myself a Christian.
Yes, well, I know that you have probably pissed off your neighbors. Where are you living now, by the way? You grew up in Tennessee?
I'm in Mississippi, and yes, the only reason the neighbors aren't that pissed off yet is that they are, most of them, not yet aware of it, but they will be. The book has just come out, and once they are, a number of them will be unhappy.
Well, I'm sure they will. Let me ask you this, though, because you have complained about people, or you've been critical that people are kind of have blinders on, especially where you live down in the South, where if anybody claims to be a Christian, they are exonerated of all their sins just by saying, I'm a good Christian. There are those down south of the Mason-Dixon who are supporters of yours. Governor Winter of Mississippi wrote, McElvaine, in writing this book, is performing a great service for the American people by opening our eyes to the political and spiritual slippery slope we find ourselves on. Grand Theft Jesus is just exactly what we need to